Welcome back to Open Window Politics. They're going to be doing a prediction between Gavin Newsom on the Democratic side to J.D. Vance on the Republican side. Vance is, of course, the current Vice President of the U.S. Gavin Newsom has made headlines recently with Prop 50 passing, and he is the governor of California and has floated that he will most likely be running for president in 2028. So I thought it would be fun to do a prediction between these two candidates. And it is possible neither of these end up being their respective parties' candidates, but at the moment they seem the most likely, and seem like it could be an interesting competition. So right off the bat, we have quite a few. I think I'm going to change a few of these change New Hampshire and Minnesota to lean, and then this is first based on the 2024 election results, which is why some states don't look as good for Democrats as they usually are. So I will go ahead and fix some of them. I'll make New Jersey likely, and then put Delaware in the safe column. Anyhow, close enough. And we'll be starting out with the first swing state. We'll be starting with Nevada. In Nevada, I think that it'll be an interesting race. We've seen the Hispanic American population kind of souring on Trump. That they were key to his victory in 2024, helped quite a bit in states along the Southwest, including Nevada, Arizona, and Trump also won Texas and other states where there's a large Hispanic American population. But that is definitely going to be the case in these two states. I don't think that Vance will have the same appeal. Honestly, if Trump were to run again, I don't think he would be able to appeal to that voter base again. I think it was just kind of a gut reaction to inflation that had occurred under Biden. And I think that this will probably result in a Democratic victory in Nevada. You guys do comment often that there are quite a few people who are leaving California who aren't a big fan of more progressive policies and are moving to states including Nevada and Arizona to seek a different political lens, and they tend to skew conservative because they're not satisfied with the more liberal leanings of California, so they go to states like Nevada and Arizona. And I think that is certainly possible, but I do think Nevada is going to most likely vote for a Democrat. If the election were to be held today, it would go to Gavin Newsom. It is by a tilt margin. All these states are going to be tilt. Most of these states already on the map are kind of predetermined. Whoever has the D or the R next to their name will win the state, but these swing states are really the true signs to tell. And then next up, we'll get up to the next state. This is going to be the state of Arizona. In Arizona, I do think that Vance would probably be able to win it. This was a swing state. It was the least swing state of the swing states because it went to Trump by the biggest margin. It is going to be 11 electoral college votes for J.D. Vance, so that is going to help the Republicans there. And I do think that Arizona, if the election were to be held today, would shift to the left. I just don't think it would shift more than the 5 points or more it required to go from 2024 election results to 2020 when Biden was able to win it. Not exact margin there, but bit of an interesting case there. Nonetheless, that is going to be in the Republican column. And then we get to the southeast part of the Sun Belt. So I do think that I'm probably going to assign each of these a different characterization. We have seen Democrats do quite well in Georgia during the 2025 elections. This resulted in Democrats doing pretty well, doing well across the state. And I do think that in the long run, Georgia will become progressively more and more progressive, and will end up voting for Democrats more consistently. They do have 2 Democratic senators. There's going to be a contested Senate election there in 2026 with Jon Ossoff running for re-election. That will most likely result in a Democratic victory if the election were to be held today. It is coming up in a year. That one's obviously quite a bit closer than this 2028 presidential election. But for now, I'm going to go with a tilt blue rating for Georgia. And then we get to the swing state of North Carolina. North Carolina has fairly consistently voted Republican. They also have an interesting Senate race in 2026 that is, weirdly enough, probably going to result in a Democratic victory. Things certainly could change. We've still got a while before the election, but I do think on the presidential level in 2028 that Democrats will make gains, but I don't think in the long run, it'll be enough to win the state. And then we get to these 3 Rust Belt states. These are really going to be the ones that determine the presidency. I did forget the district there in Omaha. I think this might even be a lean, but yeah, lean or tilt, regardless, one more electoral college vote for Gavin Newsom. And then I'm going to start out with Wisconsin and work my way up to Pennsylvania. I do think Wisconsin, of these 3 states, is probably the most likely to end up in Gavin Newsom's column. Michigan and Pennsylvania are going to be an interesting story. I think that if I were to call it today, though, in Wisconsin, so that's 10 more votes, 258 to 246. And then let's move on to Michigan. In Michigan, I'm going to go with the tilt blue rating 2. And with that brings Gavin Newsom past 273. And I do think of these 3 states that Pennsylvania would be the most likely to vote for a Republican, in this case, going to be J.D. Vance. So I've kind of gone back and forth on the state. I think if I were to do it, it would probably be that these 3 vote together. I do think in the long run that the Sun Belt, being the states of Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina, will become more and more blue, while states in the Rust Belt, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, will become more of a Republican. It's going to be a while. I don't think there'll be a stronghold per se, but I do think that they will continue to lean that way, more and more conservative as the years go on. But feel free to let me know if you have any questions about this prediction. Feel free to disagree or agree with me in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.